We're back after somebody decided to have the longest Christmas holiday in the history of the human race.
It's just like standard Christmas break. I don't know what you mean.
It's now June. It's not a Christmas break.
Season's over.
Everything's over. Well, for a lot of people it is since we last spoke. Most teams have decided that being good at anything isn't what they want to do.
It's because we've not slagged them off for a while, so they're not any good.
Yeah, we've kind of let the world run itself for a few weeks, which isn't as entertaining when we're not predicting things and getting them unbelievably wrong.
It's very true. Although Arsenal are still as bad as ever.
Yeah, they bottled it again last night quite violently. 2-0 up.
And
cruising.
against the FA Cup.
Yeah, they also managed to do that when
that.
Dallo decided that he wanted to be a moron and get himself sent off.
Yep. So Arteta's in line to win absolutely squat.
No. He's in line to win excuse of the season because the ball was different in the League Cup.
Although he did say that, remember, he hasn't only won the FA Cup, he's won the Charity Shield. I mean,
that's not a thing.
Sackable offence, isn't it?
Winning the Charity Shield is not. It's not a thing. It's like saying I won running down the stairs in my own house. You know, nobody cares.
It's set up to lose, and that's just the way they are. Second place is winning to Arsenal.
The ball was slightly different, even though they've done 4 rounds of the League Cup previously with the same football. Apparently, last Wednesday night, that ball was an issue to him.
I mean, they were just rubbish.
Yeah, they were.
That's the top and bottom of it. If he came out and said that, people have a little bit more respect to him, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. But it's just when you start making these ridiculous statements that I just laugh, cry, laugh a bit more, and then go, well, there we go. That's a new one.
But we've said that how many times we've said this about Arteta, though. What's going to be deemed as a success for Arteta now?
This season, there won't be one. This season's a failure. And unless he buys a striker, it's going to continue to be the same.
The first one he won, it was somebody else's team, as they say.
Absolutely. And that's approaching 6 years ago?
5, 6 years ago, yeah. So what's deemed a success for Arteta now? Because I think he's struggling a bit.
Yeah, there's nothing he does this season will be a success now.
2-0 down in the League Cup, are they? To Tottenham?
To Newcastle. Liverpool are beating... Tottenham are beating Liverpool.
They're out of the FA Cup. They bottled the league yesterday when they had a chance to... Well, they didn't have a chance to close on Liverpool, as it turned out, but they've dropped more points behind Liverpool, and they're not good enough to win Champions League.
No. So that season, they might as well just call it season done and go home. Just stop. There's no point playing the next 3 months. But then, Man City news yesterday, Haaland has signed a 9-year contract.
Oh, and I've read varying numbers about what he's getting paid per week. Has anyone got any idea what he's actually getting paid?
350 grand a week, is it not?
Well, I've seen 500. I've seen 800. Somebody said 1 million. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't Googled it, so I don't care that much. But
are they not currently going through a court case about diddling money and with now doing things like this?
I think what they're doing now is they're just diddling it in front of everybody, aren't they?
We've stopped hiding at this point.
Yeah, so the Guardian have put £500,000 a week as a base salary.
Wow, that's not bad going for life, is it? 500 grand a week.
He's not struggling, is he?
No, he's never going to have to work. I mean, 9 years' time, the math on that is just beyond me. It's 26 million a year. That's best part of
245 million pound.
Yeah, it's not bad out of life, is it? And let's be honest, he's not had the greatest season in the world so far.
No, well, I don't know why this. I mean, why would you sign anyone on a 9.5-year deal? I mean, the only thing they've done there is protect his value in the future, haven't they?
Well, is that the point that if they ever need to sell him, or if he ever not need to sell him, if he ever wants to move, they're protected on the fact that they're going to want 250 million for him?
But why would Haaland, I suppose, somebody offers you 500 grand a week over 9.5 years, why would you not take it?
Yeah, because he's guaranteed to get it regardless. And if he ever moves, somebody's going to have to match that wage. So if Barcelona want him, Real Madrid, they're probably the only two clubs that can. Maybe Paris Saint-Germain with their money. They're going to have to match that. So it protects him, it protects them. And it kind of stops anybody coming after him with silly bids because it's now we're talking, $250 million potentially to sign him. So they've tied him down for life nearly now, haven't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, because what is it, 23?
I actually don't know because if you looked at him, you'd say he's about 34, but I don't actually know what his real age is. He can't be that old though, because he's not been on the scene that long.
24.
Yeah, so that takes him to 33, 34 years old.
Takes him to 25. It takes him to 34 years old, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they've basically tied up his career if they so choose to keep it that way, and if he, doesn't get itchy feet at any point, they've got him until he decides he's had enough of football, basically.
Yeah, all very weird, these long contracts, aren't they? They've sort of gone down the Chelsea mantra, haven't they?
Yeah, but it seems weird to do it now because Chelsea obviously did it to reduce transfer payments because they could do it over 9 years, the full length of the contract. He's been there 3 seasons already, something like that. So I don't quite get the principle to this 9-year deal or what the thinking behind it is, if I'm honest.
No, but I'm sure there's some people a lot cleverer than us that have done the math on it. And
there aren't any people cleverer than us. We are.
Not on this podcast.
Although your daughter might turn up behind you and ruin that theory.
Yeah, it's I don't understand it all myself. Can't really make head and tail of it. Footballers are the most disloyal people in the world, so why would you give any of them than 9.5-year contracts?
I don't know.
It's like literally rewarding a moron, isn't it? I mean, Erling Haaland quite easily in a year and a half time just turn around and say I want to leave for Real Madrid, and City can do pretty much nothing about it, can they?
But have they then? They've paid for his loyalty, haven't they? Or if he wants to leave, they're going to get paid a lot of money because he's going to break that loyalty.
Once again, just the most stupid thing in the world, isn't it? We're going to pay you to stay here, even though you might not want to stay here.
Because we'll get a lot of money out of it if you want to leave.
If he wants to leave in 2.5 years' time, the only way it could ever happen is if he hands in a transfer request, because otherwise City would have to pay up his contract.
Yeah.
Which is.
But I think that's what they're banking on. They're going to
250 million for him. They're going to owe him 180 million in wages.
But they're going to say we're never going to want to sell you. If you want to leave, it's going to be you that's going to force this out, basically.
I mean, they said that the buyout clause has been taken out of his new contract as well.
Well, it will have because his contract is the buyout clause. Let's be honest. Because somebody's going to have to foot the bill for all that because it makes the transfer fee instantly. If you've got a contract worth 200 million quid, it makes the transfer fee of a 250 million quid probably anyway. So they don't need a buyout clause. And without a buyout clause, nobody can ever force a move. It's always down to them, isn't it, then? Because there's nothing to trigger a guaranteed sale.
No, because he's got a transfer request, hasn't he, if he wants to leave.
And if he's then wanting to break the contract, that probably gives them a way out of not paying the whole 200 million quid that they actually owe him or whatever it would be.
Yeah. Well, something like that. Yeah.
Or we've just completely made up his own story and that's what we'll run with.
Well, it's headline news tomorrow.
Yep. Because it doesn't have to be true. We can just say it anyway.
Just before we go any further, have you got enough layers on there? Are you cold?
It's England and it's 2 degrees. It's January.
2?
It's still snowing. Well, no, that's not like it's not snowing, but there's still snow on my driveway from 3 weeks ago because it hasn't warmed up enough to get rid of it.
2 degrees. I mean, I've started to turn the aircon down and shut the doors. It's that hot outside.
But yeah, and you do look a little bit like a tomato with freckles.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's the way it is.
I'm actually lying. It isn't 2 degrees. It's not. It's not actually a degree.
Wow. I've got a annoying fly around me.
Yep. But that's what you get for living in a hot country. Deal with it.
So, I've actually watched the sport this weekend.
Well done. Does help. You've watched the sport. You've turned up for your sports podcast after a month off. You're improving.
Rumour has it we've got a sports podcast. Well, I mean, has it been a month? Has it really been a month?
It really has, yeah. You took a month off for Christmas because apparently that's what you do in Australia.
Well, we like to celebrate things.
On the beach.
So I watched. Who did I watch first? I watched the full game of Bournemouth, Newcastle.
Bournemouth were very, very good.
Very good.
Newcastle were poor, but Bournemouth were good.
Yeah, Newcastle didn't help herself, but they've got a couple of good players. I mean, I wasn't a massive fan of Clivert, but he was good yesterday, and he was good. He's been good a couple of times I watched him.
He's the first Clivert to play well at St James's Park.
Yeah, somebody said yesterday that Clivert, he's now scored more goals at St James's Park than his dad, who played for Newcastle.
Because his dad was terrible when he came to Newcastle.
Is that why? I can't remember it. I remember him being there, but I can't remember his career, his stint there.
Wasn't very good. I'm reliably informed by a Newcastle friend that he wasn't particularly good when he was there.
Oh, really? It's a surprise, isn't it? Because he was a good player, wasn't he?
But was it not the back end of his career when he went to Newcastle as kind of a last hurrah, if I remember rightly? Could be wrong. It's a lot of years ago.
Yeah, possibly. Well, it will have been, yeah.
Has he spent most of his time in Milan?
I know it's Dutch.
Milan's Italy, so what relevance is that?
That's all I know about him is Dutch. I don't know where he played. I know he scored a lot of goals. I know he played for Holland. And yeah, we'll go AC Milan because I can't think of anyone else he played for.
Yeah, so that'll do. But yeah, apparently he wasn't particularly good. But yeah, Newcastle had been on a good run as well, and they were starting to look like they might.
9 games in a row they've won.
Newcastle or Bournemouth?
Well, 9 games in a row. They went for 10 in a row yesterday.
Yeah, so it's just I don't think it will unduly impact their season, seeing as everybody around them is also terrible. Looking at you, Man United.
Well, I mean, we'd like to be around them.
Well, yeah, that's true. You're currently around West Ham and Crystal Palace.
That would be a nice thing to compare us to if we could compare us to Newcastle, but we're not even close to them.
No, you're not.
So Newcastle are 4 still, so yeah, they are doing well. They're only 3 points behind Forest, who can overtake Arsenal if they score 12 goals.
They're not playing you, so that won't happen.
I think not. Yeah, it's a weird top 4, isn't it? Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest, and Newcastle.
Well, it's a strange top 7 because then you go Chelsea, Bournemouth, Villa. I mean,
Bournemouth 6th, 37 points. I mean, Bournemouth have got 11 points more than Man United.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really use that as a comparison because Man City are having their worst season in a decade and they've got 9 points more than you. So,
yeah, there is that. Bournemouth they're not clear of City. I mean, City can win. So I take a City play today, do
they? Yes, or tomorrow night. I believe it is. Oh, they play today away at Ipswich, and that's.
City win 3-0. They're back in top 4.
They've put that on as the 4:30 game. Who wants that as a Super Sunday game? Ipswich away at home to Manchester City.
Who do you get to watch today then?
Everton, Tottenham, and then Ipswich, Man City.
Everton, Tottenham, Ipswich, Man City.
Yeah.
Forest home Southampton, so they should win. Everton at Tottenham. Tottenham, God knows who wins that. 2 horrendous sides, Everton and Tottenham.
Yeah, but Tottenham are very much a slightly better version of Man United at the minute. They can win a game, they can lose a game, they can look good, they can look horrendous, they can score goals, they can concede goals. It's just a very strange club. They're the southern version of Man United right now.
Won none in 5.
But Arsenal have only won 1 in 5 in all competitions.
Oh, are
they? Yeah. City, obviously, since you went on holiday, have stopped being the worst team in England. They've actually now decided they don't know how to play football again.
Yeah, but that was going to happen, man. City are always going to come back because they were going to figure out the problem. And they've only got one problem. It was Rodri. And once they figure out a different way of playing, then they will be good again.
Yeah.
They're not going to fall apart through one player. They will figure it out. It's just a case of...
You've only got one problem. It's the whole squad.
Yeah, we've only got one. We've only got one player that does turn up. They've got one player that doesn't turn up. We've got one player that does.
I mean, I know in the end he did score the winning penalty in the FA Cup, but this was the top question on my notes this week. What is Xerxes?
Well, up until against Southampton, I haven't seen him do anything. But he came on against Southampton and changed the game. That's the first time he's done that. I don't know. He looks overweight. And wait for this one. He looks too tall. He looks like...
I don't think that's ever
when you
been a
build,
thing.
when you build a tower and it gets to the top, to the point where it's about to fall over, and it just looks like you've gone too. That's what happened to him. It looks like he's permanently about to fall over. He's too tall.
But I've watched him now in a few games, and he's not a centre forward, not a chance. He's too cumbersome to be a winger. He's not a false nine. So what is he? I don't get what he's meant to be as a
He's
player.
coming as a centre forward, and like I said, to be fair to him, against Southampton the other day, he came on, he held the ball up unbelievably well. His touch
But it's
was
Southampton.
This is it. I mean, maybe he's found his level. It was. If that's the way they've played in his first game, you'd have thought, oh, we've signed a player. Yeah, give him a year, 18 months, that's fine. But that's the first time he's done it. So whether if he plays again today against Brighton, and look, I'm guessing he'll start today because Højlund played against Southampton and didn't really do anything. So I'm guessing Xerxes will probably get the start. We'll have to see. I mean, right now he's the least of our problems. So we've just
because the most of your problems are selling Anthony, selling Rashford, Garnacho might be on the way out. It doesn't even surprise me anymore with him because literally when I missed it, all I've said to one of my friends was, that guy's a waste of a good pair of boots.
Yeah.
Because there's just no point in him being in them. The boots might as well have just stood on the pitch by themselves because
we were losing. And we weren't winning when Anthony caught up losing at 1-1. But Anthony comes on, and it must be the only time you're going to substitute on where you think
that makes it worse.
That's not really helped. I mean, if they'd have brought substitute goalkeeper on at right wing, I'd have had a more optimistic outlook than if they brought Anthony.
You should have brought on an injured Luke Shaw.
So, yeah, we're just so hit and miss at the minute. I mean, last 15 minutes against Southampton, we thought I would walk up. First 75 minutes was horrendous. I thought we played really well against Arsenal, considering for a lot of it on 10 men.
Yeah, you did.
Arsenal had a better side than us at the minute. I thought we played well. I thought we played against Liverpool the other week. I thought we played well against City 3.5 weeks ago. But there's just games in between. You come into Southampton, you think, wow, we played well against City, we played well decent against Liverpool, we've played well against Arsenal, and we've got results. You want to see them kick on then against Southampton and go and win 3-4-0, and you think, all right. And for 60, 70 minutes, we were absolutely turgid. It were horrendous to watch. When Southampton were the better side by a long way.
Yeah, and that's the problem with you right now. Say you can put in these big performances in big games, but it's as other players can't get up for the games you should win. It's as though the big games mean something, but everything else doesn't.
It's almost like they've got to play such a high energy game under the new manager that they don't have that energy unless it's against Liverpool. It's like they're not in the limelight, are they? Against when they're playing against Southampton, it's almost like they're just going through the motions.
Yeah, and he's got to stop that quite quickly. He's got to stamp that out and get every game means the same regardless of who you're playing. He's got to get this mentality better that, you can't just get up for the big games.
The mentality in the club at the moment is the same as it's been for the last 10 years.
Yeah, which is, I mean...
It's all right saying he needs to get this out. Mourinho didn't get rid of it. Van Gaal didn't get rid of it. Solskjaer didn't get rid of it. Ten Hag didn't get rid of it. So why is this guy going to get rid of it? What has he got that they haven't?
And this was one of my other questions that came up in recent weeks. So you've changed the manager 147 times since Ferguson left.
Mm-hmm.
The club's been sold. You've changed the backroom staff. You've changed the sporting director. Dan Ashworth came in. He didn't work. He's left. Ineos have brought in all the people that they wanted, but yet the club still seems as rotten. So where now is this issue lying? Because you've changed everything and all the problems still exist that did before the changes. So where is the root of this issue?
Well, the easy answer is, there's two easy answers. One, they have changed everything, but everyone's got to remember these guys haven't even been in a year yet. So, and most of the backroom staff haven't been in more than 6-7 months, which is not a long time to turn around a club that's had 11, 12 years of neglect. But the biggest problem was and always has been the 11 people they put on the pitch every week.
True.
Until you get rid of the people at the root of the problem, you can change as many other people as you want. You can play in a different country. If you still take them same 11 lads with you, we're still going to have the same problem. We've still got people playing for us that, one, aren't good enough, and two, haven't got the heart and effort to play for us. And that spreads through the club because people you look at your left back who's not working hard enough, and you think, well, why am I running to cover for him? So you don't run and cover for him. If you're not all playing for each other, you're not all giving 100%, then that's where you fall down. You look at Bournemouth. Bournemouth don't have one good player. Not one. They've got Semenya who's come through. They've got Clive who's doing all right. But if you look through their team, you wouldn't pick one player out of their team and go, I'd have him in my squad. I'd have him in my squad. They've got 11 people that play for each other, week in, week out.
Yeah.
They do as the manager asks for them. They cover for each other. They work for each other. No top 5 or top 6 teams looking at Bournemouth and saying, I want him, or him. Nobody.
Probably the same at Forest as well, actually.
Same as Forest, yeah. And these are the teams that are showing that if you all stick together and work for each other, you'll have success. I mean, Forest have been a joke off the pitch.
I suppose when you look at it, that rings true at part of, well, there was certain parts of the Ferguson era where you didn't have particularly always the best squad. You had players like Jemba Gaming, Kleberson, Anderson.
There was a thing the other day when we beat Arsenal 8-2 and he put the team out and we played 7 defenders. There was a back 4 and then he played the Rafael De Silva brothers in midfield.
Yeah.
And somebody else in midfield. It was an horrendous team. But the way the club was ran and the ethos about the club was everyone helped each other, everyone worked for each other, everyone stuck together. Right now, it's a lot of egotistical players, overpaid, which I know they all are, but are grabbing stupid wages and don't really want to be at Man United. They're there because Man United have basically bought them and paid them a stupid amount of money.
Yeah, true. Rumours you might get 20-odd million out of Casemiro to go to Saudi Arabia?
Back 5. I mean, Casemiro, I've been for the list before. Casemiro, Dalot, Rashford, Luke Shaw. It just goes on and on and on. The only one player that we'll have to take back on at the minute is Harry Maguire. The last few weeks, he's played really well.
I said exactly the same last week. I can't, it sounds hard
I've
to
wanted
say
him to leave.
Maguire's the best
part of 18 months now. And you know what? He's gone through it all, but right now, he gives his all. He's still got many flaws, but I think the system does help him. Playing 3 at the back does help his.
Yeah.
It deflects away from his flaws and allows him to show what he is good at.
It's always been the same in the England squad, though, hasn't it? When he plays in the centre of a 3 with Kyle Walker to his right, he gets a lot more protection, which then allows him to not look as exposed.
His problem is he's got no pace and he doesn't move his feet fast enough around when the ball's nowhere near him. So people can cover for him. And City have done it. I mean, how many years has Kyle Walker been covering for people at City? I mean, the amount of times he's run back and been the last man making a tackle or interception, there's thousands of times. So, but then he can show his strengths by doing that. So the only person that's shone that wasn't before is Harry Maguire. The other person that's doing well is Ahmad, but he's never really been there. So, I can't say that he's stepped on it and doing really well because he's never played for us really before. But everyone else is just struggling. Consistency.
Is it a struggle for consistency, or are those players just not actually as good as you guys thought they were when you bought them? Anthony has been consistent since he came to Man United.
They don't have to be that good, do they? Like I just said about Bournemouth and Forest. They've got people we've got rid of. They don't have to be world-class players to give 100%. I'm not saying every game, but there's always somebody giving 80%, 70%. You just look around the pitch and just think, he's just not up for it today, is he? Neither is he. And that suddenly we're playing with 10 men again, aren't we? Because we've got 2 players that are only playing half strength.
Yeah.
It always seems to be. And on a very rare occasion, everyone puts in 100%. We get a City-type performance or a Liverpool-type performance, where we do look like a half-decent outfit. But then again, we resort to Southampton where we think, oh, well, we've got a result against Arsenal. We'll beat Southampton today. We'll just play at 80%. And then that turns out for an hour of absolute tripe, basically. It's just not good.
Can you afford to sign anybody in January, or are you pretty much stuck with what you've got until summer?
Unless they get rid of them. I mean, there's talks of Rashford still going in January, but I mean, what we've got 10, 11 days left of the window.
Yeah, 19. Does it end on 30th usually? I think something like that.
So
depends whenever the last working day of the month is, because they'll not do it.
We've got a week and a half to get rid of Casemiro, Rashford,
Anthony.
Yeah, he won't be going nowhere in January. And that'll free up a bit of money, and maybe they can get somebody in on a loan to buy, or whether they can get somebody over the line who's cheap. But I can't imagine much can happen. And like I say, the concentration's got to be on getting these people out now. Still been, the same since the summer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Which just makes his job for the next 5 months that's left at season. It's nearly really difficult to do anything.
Just stuck with the old manager until the end of the season and got these players out because this guy now is just having his reputation tarnished and making his job twice as hard because he's already going to have people on his back come the summer when he has his first chance to do anything about it.
But the thing is, if you don't clear out any of the deadwood now or early summer, what can he do? He can't do anything again, can he? He's going to be stuck same principle.
The same problem. And probably 2 years in, get the sack, and we'll pick out another amazing manager that's from Europe that's doing really well and ruin him as well. So unless they get rid of these players, it's pointless doing anything else.
Yeah. One of my other things that came up, though, which is speaking of the history of, well, not necessarily just the history of Man United, but it does involve an ex-Man United player. Wayne Rooney, sacked at Plymouth, gone through another job. So my question to you was, why do the current generation of ex-players make such bad managers? Lampard failed, Gerrard failed, Rooney continues to fail, Sol Campbell did a bit, failed. None of them seem to be able to do it.
But people are just employing these guys because of what their name is.
True.
What? Wayne Rooney got the job at Plymouth off the back of what?
Getting sacked by everybody else.
Exactly. So why have Plymouth set him on? It's Plymouth's own stupid fault for employing the guy, right? Steven Gerrard did well at Rangers, has done nothing since. Anyone who employs Steven Gerrard as a manager now is an idiot. Unless you get him dirt cheap and you're a club who's not got a manager. If you set Wayne Rooney on now as a manager, you're an idiot. Because he's done absolutely diddly squat as a manager. Nothing. So you set
John Terry had to go as well, didn't he?
I mean, again, you just employ. I understand when they're starting management, they can't have a reputation. They've got to start somewhere, right? And a lot of young managers do. But if you start and you fail and you fail and you fail and keep getting a job, then the people that are employing you are idiots, aren't they?
Well, yeah, true.
Why are you employing Wayne Rooney as your manager? Based on what?
I suppose the question more was not why did they get jobs, is why are they so bad at it? Because every one of what are the star players can't seem to turn into managers these days.
But why would they be able to? What gives them the right to be a manager? Because they were a footballer.
Well, in theory, you think they understand the game, they've played the game at the very, very highest level, so they should be able to impart the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that they've got.
If you give Wayne Rooney a City job, he might be able to do well because he's probably playing with people that have played at his level. I'm sorry, but no one at Plymouth has ever been close to being able to lace Wayne Rooney's boots. So if he's asking them to do what he did as a player, he's going to fail, isn't he?
Well, it's not able.
They can't do it, can they?
No.
He's asking that. He's looking at Plymouth and asking them to do what Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic did, what Edwin van der Sar did, what like the Scholes and Giggs and Ruud van Nistelrooy and all these players that he played with, Tevez, Ronaldo, and he's going to say, "Well, this is my style of football." Well, it would be with them players. Anyone could play a good style of football with them type of players. Who've Plymouth got?
I mean, I couldn't name you a Plymouth player, if I'm honest.
What has Wayne Rooney done in his career that puts him in a position to be able to manage League Two, League One, Championship style players? Nothing.
True.
He's never.
He did play in America.
Exactly. And they were all, Wayne Rooney was well over the hill and well overweight and was still the best player in America.
Which is now Lionel Messi at 40 or whatever he is.
He's managing players that are 60% below his level.
Yeah.
And asking them to do what he did. Which is understandable because that's how he's learned but unless he's going to go in at a job on his level, how is he going to get them people to do what he wants them to do?
But then, like you said, what has he done to deserve a job on the level that he played at in his career?
So the only way you can do it is Wayne Rooney's got to go in and find a way of being a manager to people that aren't at the level he's used to. He's got to try and manage people that are considerably worse footballers than he was. And that's the key to it, isn't it? That's why it's almost better to have not been a footballer to be a manager, because you learn by managing people and coming through the ranks, don't you? Wayne Rooney's not going to take a job. What Wayne Rooney needs to do is go and take a job in somebody's under 16s, under 18s, and then get a job in somebody's under 21s and learn to work with players out of the limelight that aren't at his level. And then he'll learn a strategy and a management style that suits the players are going to come into. Then he takes a job. But they go in and take these jobs. I mean, he took Derby job, didn't he? I mean, everyone says he kept him up, but I mean, he kept him up by the skin of his teeth. And I'm not even sure it was really what he did.
And he nearly took Birmingham down, but anyway, he took over Birmingham and they were 5th, 6th in the championship.
Yeah.
When he got sacked, they were 19th, I think,
Nearly down.
or something like that.
So I just don't understand why people automatically assume because Steven Gerrard wants to get his A license that he's going to be a good manager. There's just nothing.
No,
there
I just found it quite interesting that literally all of the ones that have come out of the last crop of players that have just finished playing, none of them yet have even made even a remote success. I mean, yes, you can say Gerrard. Did he win the league in Scotland? Did he win a league in Scotland? Was it the Premier League? I don't know.
Scotland, yeah. Well,
but so what?
Celtic didn't win it, so obviously the next team along did.
Exactly. I mean,
works, isn't it?
Without meaning to sound too harsh on Scottish football, it's not really an achievement, is it? If Celtic don't win it, you do. Yeah. It's kind of so what?
It is. I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy is in at Leicester.
It's not going well. Lost
Everybody
again
wants
yesterday.
to give him a Man United job. And that's fine. It was going well for him at Man United at the time, but he was managing players on his level more. He's now going in at Leicester, and again, he's managing championship players. These players found their level in the championship last season. He'll be he's asking them to do things that they aren't capable of doing.
Oh, 100%, yeah. He completely is.
That's the problem these managers have got. You've got to be realistic about what you expect. If they want to go in there and play Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp style football with players that, haven't got a freaking clue, probably don't even know where they live half the time.
But then have the clubs that employ these people got to take a more, I don't want to say laid back, because that's not the right word, a more patient approach to the fact that these managers coming in, they don't have massive experience. They're trying to impart a way that they know based on their playing experience. So if you're bringing Ruud van Nistelrooy in, let's say, there's no point giving him 6 months and thinking, well, it's failed and we're just going to sack him, because in 6 months, what can he do? Because he's still learning, they're still learning.
But this has been the case with all managers, and this is what I said about Ten Hag. This is what I said about every manager that comes through. They don't have time to develop what they're doing into anything that's meaningful.
No.
How many managers have been at Southampton recently? Are they doing any better for sacking the last guy than they did before? They're still rock bottom of the league. They're still not winning games. They employ a guy because they're going to play a certain way of football, and then everyone gets on his back because he's playing that way of football. Now, we've all sat on here and said Southampton playing out from the back is pathetic, but they knew that when they set him on. They knew he was going to do this.
But it worked in the Championship, didn't it? So he got away with it. Since he's come up here and not been able to adapt.
You haven't got the players to do it. But that's not the manager's fault always, is it? I'm not saying the manager can't change, but you can't blame the manager for playing the way he said he was going to play when he came in.
True. But I think in the Southampton case specifically, it's slightly different because he took them out of the Championship doing it and couldn't adapt to the Premier League of going, this won't work. He was too stubborn and too arrogant, and I'm going to do it.
They've almost told you they're going to be like that, haven't they, when they've given you the job interview? What's your style of play? Well, this is how I play. This is how I build up. This is my attacking philosophy. This is my defensive philosophy. They've known this and then get the face on because he's doing it. Did they say to him, when you get us out of the Championship, I want you to be able to change your philosophy and it's about keeping us in the Premier League? They won't have done. They'll have got, we want a manager that plays, fluid football and plays out from the back and, builds up through, defence.
I mean, I suppose
manager, and then they all cry because that's what he's doing.
The biggest example of that is West Ham. David Moyes had a specific type of football. It was working, but the fans and the club hated it, so they just sacked him.
Don't like him.
But it worked.
Well, we're going back to the same thing about looking at Arteta, you're looking at Ten Hag, and you're looking at David Moyes. Everybody would pick Arteta out. David Moyes and Ten Hag have all won more trophies than Arteta in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
With worse teams. Arguable. Both have got shitter teams than Arteta's built. Because Arteta plays the brand of football that Arsenal fans want to see. They're happy to watch good football that doesn't have an end product. West Ham fans want the same. They want to watch good football and don't give a monkey's about winning a trophy. David Moyes got them 8th and a European trophy. Every West Ham fan should have built a statue for him outside the ground. And what did they do? Kicked him out.
I
I
can't.
And where have they got since?
But they're
Nowhere.
on about. Hasn't now Lopetegui now lost his job at West Ham?
He's lost his job, and Potter's gone in now, hasn't he?
Yeah,
So
and
what's
that'll not
Potter going
work.
to do? What can Potter do with West Ham that Moyes didn't do?
Nothing.
If Potter gets them 8th and wins them a European trophy, he will have done the same as Moyes. He'll have done no more, and he isn't doing that.
No, and he's not going to do, is he?
He's not
The
going to do.
next
So
10 years of West Ham, and no manager's
West
going to do
Ham
what
have
Moyes
now
did.
basically said, "Thank you, you've won us a trophy. But that's not what we want. We want to play nice football. We want to play nice football and win nothing."
Which just blows my mind.
But that's what Arsenal.
Last
All
time I
Arsenal
checked,
fans
football was
lauding
about
Arteta,
winning.
and Arteta doesn't. He plays great football. They are next side, but when it comes to the nitty gritty, they don't win anything. So what's the point? You might as well bring back an old school manager that wins you a trophy every year, every 2 years. But then he'll get sacked because all fans will say they're bored.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I don't understand how football went from being results orientated to looking good.
Because there's only been 2 managers recently that have done both, and that's Klopp and
Pep.
Pep. They're the only 2 managers that have been able to play good football and win. Everybody else does one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm a football fan just like everybody else. I don't give a shit how we play. We win. It will all moan about the performance. We'll all moan we didn't do very well. But if we win the cup at the end of the season, that's it. That's all that matters. If we win the league by 1 point, playing 38 shit games, we won the league. That's it.
It's funnily enough, I said exactly the same last summer. So England at the Euros, we were playing terribly. But like I keep saying, as long as we win, I actually don't care.
Because
I don't care if we score in the last minute of every game.
You know, now you'd have sat here and said, England won World Cup. You wouldn't have sat here and gone, England won World Cup, but we were absolutely turgid and rubbish and it was hard to watch. Nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
Does everyone remember how we played in 1966?
Because we weren't born.
No one ever remember, will it? Does everyone remember how Brazil won World Cup in 2012 or whenever they won it? Nobody remembers how they played. You remember they won it. You can go back and tell you every Premier League team that's won the Premier League. Can you tell me how well they played that season? No, I can't.
No, you don't care.
They just win. Win the trophy.
This is what I mean. How have we managed to turn the game on its head that people now care more about how it looks than what they get? I can't
aiming
follow
to
the
be
logic.
somebody they're not, aren't they? Everyone's aiming to be Pep and Klopp. The only 2 people that have managed it. Pep's managed it because he's had an unlimited amount of funds. Klopp managed it because he was an unbelievable manager, right? An unbelievable man manager and an unbelievable tactician. Right? One in a generation that came in. I'm not saying Pep's not, but Pep can buy. I mean, he's lost Rodgers. There's been about 3 players for 200 million, haven't they? Just to replace
and spent £250 million on Haaland.
Klopp never had that. Klopp never went out and spent 200 million on 3 players in January just to fill in for somebody. Klopp was an amazing manager. Pep's a very, very good manager. I'm sure he is, but he's also got an unlimited pocket of money.
Yeah,
where they can just write checks where they want, by the sounds of it, and buy who they want. So they've got the ability to do that. If you're the manager of West Ham, you've got neither. You haven't got the amazing manager, and you haven't got no million wealth. So you've just got to take what you've got. You finish 8th and win a European trophy. You should be fucking happy. You should be running laps around the city, and instead kicked him out. Absolute moron. I mean, look at Wolves. How many managers have Wolves had over the last 6 years? I mean, they must have had 10. What
and
have
they're
any
still
of them?
going nowhere.
Stop sacking your manager and get rid of the idiots on the pitch that aren't performing, and leave the guy in charge that you've picked. You've obviously picked him for a reason. Unless he does something seriously wrong, leave him in charge.
Yeah, I think teams have got to start doing it. But I mean, it's been a thing in football for donkey's years, don't now, hasn't it? There's no time, there's no patience, there's no
player powers took over, hasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
You look at the thoughts of Wenger, Ferguson, Sam Allardyce. There was no player power under them.
Bobby
managers.
Robson.
If you didn't toe the line, it don't matter whether you were Jaap Stam, David Beckham, Nicolas Anelka, you were gone. See you later. Go and play for somebody else. I don't give a shit who you are, how many goals you've scored, where you've come from, how good you think you are. Do one. Now hold on a minute here. Mental health in bits, and you can't say that to him, and he's not allowed to do that. We'll have to send him off to Spain for training camp because he's not very well. And then they come back and screw you over. And it's like, who's letting these players run the club? You're just backing yourself into a corner, aren't you?
You are, but there doesn't appear to be a manager out there right now that's prepared to stamp it out in a club. And I know it would be unpopular for a while, but to at least try the old way.
can the manager stamp it out because he's not got the backing of the people above him? It's got to come from the people above him to
you're right,
say,
John.
right,
There isn't a club that appears to be.
we see where you are, we see the problems, we'll back you. Who do you want out? We'll get them out. Right? If a player says to you, I'm not playing left wing, I only play up front, tough, he'll go. And we'll say to him, you either play left wing or pack your bags and off you go. I don't care if you were 50 million or 500 million, you're gone. Get out of our club. And until a club turns around and starts putting the people in any other business, can you imagine the people, the wrong way of putting it, but the people at the bottom of the business, the people on the shop floor, telling the management what they're doing? They'd be all hell break loose, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't happen. It can't happen.
I'm going upstairs saying, I'm not packing them boxes. Get somebody else to do it. And the management going, no problem. I'll just get somebody else to do that for you. Of course we will. I'll bring another man in. I'll employ another guy to do your job because you don't want to do it. It wouldn't happen, would it? They'd turn around to him and say, see you later, mate. I'll replace you next week. So why would do it totally opposite in football all of a sudden?
Because, like you said, we've given all the players all the power, haven't we, these days? They've been
all the money,
put on
all
this
the
pedestal.
power. And until somebody stops it, and the first club that stop it, and I don't know if they ever will be, it'll be like a, Arsenal Invincibles type thing, won't it? Be the first club will always look back and say, can you remember when they stepped up and changed the game? But will they? Has anyone got the balls to do it?
It's going to have to happen, though, isn't it? Because for certain clubs now, if you look at Man United, it's starting to go wrong. Well, it's gone wrong for many years. Man City's on the brink of having their worst season since probably 2013 or something like that.
I mean, I'm guessing these charges are all a load of baloney because nothing's come of them and they're spending money like it's.
Yeah, we've not had an answer yet, but reading between the lines, looking at the fact they've just splashed all that money on Haaland's contract, they're buying players again.
Signed a new deal. Haaland signed a new deal. They bought another 3 players. I mean, I've never heard, but they bought another 3 players.
They're literally admitting without admitting that it's a non-starter, this court case. It's gone away. Which it will.
Again makes a total mockery because how can the Premier League bring charges against a club and then fail? I mean, if you're the Premier League and you cannot put a watertight case against them.
I mean, they failed against Leicester, so they're going to fail against City, let's be honest.
It's just total mockery, isn't it? Because if this does fail, they fail against Leicester, they fail against City, then, I mean, if I'm any other club, I'm just ignoring all the rules and doing what they want.
And just appealing and just making up my own court case afterwards.
I'll just ring City up and say, are we your solicitors or your lawyers? I'll set them on.
And what did you say?
But again, the clubs are then running the league, aren't they? So this is the players running the clubs and the clubs running the league. And it should be the other way around.
The tail's wagging the dog.
The clubs run the players. It's back to front. The people at the bottom of the pyramid are telling the people at the top what to do and basically getting away with it.
Oh, yeah. But that actually segues quite nicely to something else I wanted to bring to your attention, which is on a different sport, but this is a man in control. However, his control is maybe going a little bit too far. Now, we're a bit late to this. It did happen last week because you were on holiday. But bear with me. I'm going to read you a direct quote from Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the head of the FIA, the president of the FIA, who obviously run Formula One. He has said in an interview recently, 3 years of critics against me. Do I care? Was I elected to listen to the media? No. I like the good media, the positive media, and maybe I make a mistake and you can come and criticize me in an objective way. It's unfair, but the world is unfair. Saudi Arabia has reinvested a lot. You look at some of the British media and they go against Saudi Arabia or me. But one thing I would say, go and see the British Grand Prix. Is it the British Grand Prix? No, it's the Qatar Airways British Grand Prix. Please, you remove the budget, you remove the money. What is that statement?
So hold on a minute here. So he's saying, just to go on the last point, that if Qatar don't sponsor the British Grand Prix, no one else will.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's no other company in the world that will sponsor it. Just his company.
But the bigger problem I had with it is Saudi Arabia has reinvested a lot and then talks about the Qatar Airways British Grand Prix.
Which is from
Qatar isn't in Saudi Arabia. Qatar is a country.
I mean, I'm far from the greatest businessman in the world, but when people sponsor something, it's usually because they're getting something in return, which is business, So it's not charity, is it? Let's be honest. They haven't sponsored the British Grand Prix to give away £200 million to the British Grand Prix because they felt generous. They've done it because they're making a profit at the other end. So they've invested a lot more. Where's this investment? They've invested in their own business, basically.
They haven't, because Saudi Arabia has nothing to do with Qatar.
No, but I'm saying even if they were, Qatar Airlines have invested in their business by sponsoring the British Grand Prix with the hope that they're going to get multiple millions pounds back by people flying on their airlines and using their whatever. They haven't done it because they feel generous and want to keep the British Grand Prix alive. So, just like any other company, I mean, so Rolex sponsor the British Grand Prix. Are they?
Well, they were the official timekeepers of Formula One, which is now going to be Tag Heuer, I believe. But yeah,
so somebody else has stepped in when Rolex are not doing it. So is he saying Qatar don't sponsor the British Grand Prix, it'll fold? Is that what he's trying to make out?
Yes, and it's all the fault of the British media because we criticise him for doing a bad job, which he does every week, do a bad job. But he spent another week complaining about the media while saying he doesn't care about the media.
I mean, how can you feel sorry for a guy who's obviously got more money than the world itself? I'm guessing because he's
only an employee. He's only the FIA president. He won't be mega wealthy. Yes, he'll be doing fine in life, but he's not. He's not the crown prince of Bahrain or anything like that.
He's part of something in the Middle East, isn't he? He'll not be. He's not just finished university and got a job in the FIA as he is from.
He's worked in the FIA for quite a long time, and he was a driver apparently. So he claims.
Was a driver.
Yeah, but yeah, he only wants to listen to good media. He's not bad media shouldn't exist. I'm like, what is this man? How can you? How are you running a sport?
But the idea of media is it gives you both sides of the story, doesn't it? It's like the media is there to report on everything. They don't just pick out the things that suit you.
But he can because that's what he wants to do.
Well, but I mean. I don't know. It sounds
unfortunately for him, we don't have to listen to him because we are not part of the mainstream media. So Ben Sulayem, you are a moron and you talk utter tripe 300 days a year.
Why has he become the president of the FIA? How is that?
He was elected because nobody ran against him, and he will be re-elected next year.
So this is like FIFA and UEFA then, isn't it?
Yeah, unless somebody runs against them, it's their job.
Or Russia, because he does the same, doesn't it? Because if anyone runs against him, just has them shot.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulems, whatever his fucking name is worth £7.5 billion.
Is that him?
That's him.
He's quite well off then. He's quite a rich man.
Well, when he moans about things not being right, obviously, my little violin is extremely small.
It doesn't play very well for him.
And you're moaning that the media aren't reporting. I mean, I'm guessing he hasn't got all his money from a legitimate cause.
Possibly not. But who are we to speculate on that? But I can't have any sympathy for a man who spends an entire year telling drivers to shut up, telling them they can't swear, telling them that they should do this, telling them they shouldn't do that, telling everybody that they should stop criticising the FIA when they do things wrong. When they do something wrong, he denied it. So one of the things, I can't remember exactly what it was. He basically just went, no, we were all perfect. Well, you're not, are you? Let's be honest. You've never been perfect in the whole time the FIA has existed. Never mind this year specifically. As soon as anybody criticises him, he just goes, no, shut up, I'm amazing. You shouldn't criticise me.
What? I suppose you can do when you've got 7.5 billion in bank, can't you? You can do what the hell you want.
But then stop doing the job. If people don't like you, you hate the media, you don't need the money, sod off. Just leave.
I just don't understand how he's been voted in.
There was nobody else running. He decided he wanted to stand for election and nobody ran against him, so he won by default.
I mean, I'd have definitely run if that's the sort of one that's been banded about. I mean, do I need a qualification?
Probably.
Do an online course?
I don't want to see whoever in charge of a sport.
Of all the billions of people in the world, somebody was interested in the job.
Yeah, you probably do need some sort of qualification. You can't just be a man in Australia. Although Massey was an Australian man who got a job being FIA race director, and he wasn't very good. So maybe you can.
Maybe. I mean, I'm better at implying the rules than he was.
But yeah, I just couldn't get over this whole statement he made last week. And the thing is, he wasn't even prompted to make this statement. He was just at another race event and just went on this mad tirade about the British media and Saudi. And yes, Saudi Arabia has reinvested a lot. A lot of what? In what? What is he on about?
Listening, who does he think cares?
I don't know. It's just, it just, as I saw the statement, I'm like, I don't understand any of this or what you actually mean.
Seems like a very strange little man, doesn't he? With a lot of money. Very strange little fella.
And the only other things we've missed in F1, because obviously it's in the middle of the winter, is Perez was finally sacked. We've only talked about it for 7 months.
Which was the least surprising news story of the decade, possibly.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean,
and Red Bull announced he was fired, and everybody else went, "We've known for months." You just didn't tell anybody.
No, I'm not all about managers getting sacked because I don't think they get a fair crack at the whip. But I mean, he's had way too many cracks at the whip, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they can't blame anyone because he's got nobody. It's not like he can blame the left winger because he's shit. He's just in, get in the car. And it's not like he can say, well, the car was built a bit more to Max, so I was, a couple of seconds behind him. I mean, he's been that far behind him that people who can't actually drive a Formula 1 car have been beating him.
Yeah, he was probably given 2 seasons too long. I mean, he did all right in 21. I suppose 22 wasn't horrendous. It wasn't great, but 23, 24 are just 2 of the worst seasons you've ever seen in a car that is, well, one of the seasons entirely dominant, and the second season was a little bit worse. But
it wasn't bad. I mean, he should be second to Max at all times. Anything other than second, all right. The second half of this season, it's been a bit of a lottery, but he's never been in the mix, has he?
No.
And no race, even the races where he's been good at before, sort of tight, twisty street circuits, he's been nowhere except for Baku, where he nearly finished.
And then ended up in a wall.
I mean, people can say, well, they were driving well, but you only drive well if you drive well for the entirety of the race. It doesn't work if you only do 85%, does it?
No. I think he'd have got away with it as well if, like you said, it had been in the mix, because there was 8 good cars if you count Merck in there. If he'd have been finishing 3rd a week and then 6th a week.
Hamilton's won a race and then finished 7th in a race, Leclerc's been top 1 and 2 and then been 5th and 6th. But he was just there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And it was like,
by himself, on his own.
It was like, get in the mix with the Mercs and the Ferraris and at least mix it up with them. They've got much worse cars this year, and he's got nowhere near most of them most of the time.
Mm. So now they've put in Liam Lawson, which I'm not really sure how that's going to play out for them. I don't think.
They said that, was it Tsunoda that tested?
Tsunoda tested, yes.
Said that he'd done really well, which was quite strange. Then they said he'd done really well and then picked the other guy. I mean, there'll be an ulterior motive, won't there? There'll be some funding or money or...
The ulterior motive is Tsunoda's a Honda driver and not a Red Bull driver, and they just don't trust him because they think he's a loose cannon. Is the top and bottom of it. That's the only reason why they won't employ him. They don't trust him.
There's another very angry little man, isn't he? He's got little man syndrome.
Can be, yeah. And then Isaac Hadjar's gone into what is now Racing Bulls, as they've rebranded again for the 700th time in their existence.
Is this the V-Carb?
AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso, Minardi, now Racing Bulls.
And as I take it, no one's raised the problem of them having 2 teams again. It's just not been.
It's a problem that is of the making of the sport, though. So go back many years.
Sport, you would have the ability to change this problem.
No, because they own it. You can't force somebody to sell something they own. So Bernie Ecclestone asked them to buy. Bernie Ecclestone asked them to buy the team at the time because there was nobody interested in it, and they were going to lose the team. So Red Bull bought it, called it back then Toro Rosso, because they needed the 10th team on the grid. Once you've told them they can buy it and they can own it, you can't then go, well, actually, do you mind selling it? Because it's not really fair anymore, which it isn't. And we all agree that it's not fair, but you can't do anything about it. The sport asked them to buy it, so they did. So now they have 2 teams.
Why has no one else done it then?
There's no team available for sale right now.
I think one or two. I'd take 50 quid for them. What's that green and black one?
You mean the Skip, formerly known as Sauber?
Yeah, I mean, why don't Merck buy that and just use that as a test car? And Mercedes have got an unlimited pot of money.
Because teams did it in a cheaper way. So Ferrari use Haas, don't they? They have a partnership with them, so Haas buy off them. But Ollie Behrman is a Ferrari driver going into Haas next season. So they get the benefits of having a second team without actually having to buy one. Red Bull went and bought the whole thing and now just have 2 teams on the grid. But they
Pit
can't,
Daniel Ricciardo for a fastest lap.
can't find 4 drivers to fill the seats is the biggest problem they've got. Because Hajar did okay in F2. He's not pulled up any trees. He's not, he's definitely not going to be the next Max Verstappen or Charles Leclerc or Lando Norris. But the problem they've got now is if they start with Lawson and he has a below average start to 2025, you've basically told Tsunoda you don't want him because you've had him for 4 years in the junior team and not picked him. You've got Hajar will have been there for 10 minutes. What do you do? And did you see the rumour about Max?
I've seen something about £1 billion. Is it to
Aston Martin?
I guess he didn't say it was. It just said to a team that weren't in the top 5 or top 6 or something. Yeah. I just guessed Aston Martin because that's where Thingy's gone, hasn't he?
Yeah, so apparently some of the shareholders or stakeholders in Aston Martin have been told to prepare for his arrival and that the contract may be worth £1 billion. It wasn't. I've not just seen this in one place. I've seen it in numerous places. But whether it turns out to be any truth to it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if he does leave Red Bull, they're in a mess. I will take great pleasure in seeing them in a mess.
Yeah,
but they're going to fall down quickly.
If Aston Martin want to start a GoFundMe page, I will donate 50% of my wages towards them buying Max. I hate Max, but I hate Christian Horner more, and I just want to see him cry.
50% of nothing is nothing. You're unemployed.
Oh, yeah. I'll raise funds by swimming the channel and donate.
Which channel?
I don't know. There'll be a channel there somewhere that I can swim. There's a lot of sharks and stuff.
The nearest country's 6,000 miles away.
And I'll donate all the proceeds to Aston Martin so that they buy Max and Christian Horner has to retire because that other geezer above him don't like him.
Helmut Marko.
That's him. He's another one as well. They've got to be the most miserable 2 people on the planet, aren't they?
I'd be even more miserable if Max sods off.
Yeah, whatever. I don't like Max. I don't like Christian Horner. I don't like Helmut Marko because he's never smiled in his life. So, yeah, just get them all gone.
But, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting, I think. If Aston Martin can pull off the Max deal, that then sends the driver market into chaos again for another year. We did this.
Is this going to happen mid-season again, though? Are we going to have to go? They need to stop this as well, don't they? Because all we seem to do is 3 weeks into the season, we start buying drivers for next season and no one gives a monkeys about what they're doing.
Well, we're about bang on 12 months ago since the whole Lewis to Ferrari thing happened, which caused chaos for the next 11 months of the season. If Max does it now, and I'm not saying he will, there's no speculation that it's going to happen anytime soon, but if it was to happen pre-start of 25, you've got carnage again.
Yeah, because Red Bull are basically going to have to build a car for Lawson.
Well, they're going to have to build a car for a driver that they don't have, because what they're then going to do is chase George Russell, in my head. But then I don't know who Mercedes would get. If Russell goes to Red Bull, Mercedes are then going to probably look at Carlos Sainz. Then that leaves Williams without a driver, and they're going to look at Colapinto, but he's now been sold to
Alpine. To be fair to Williams, it's probably better if they put 2 cars on grid and just have one driver, because they tend to need 2 cars for one driver, don't they? They bend them quite a lot. So maybe it's better if they just have one driver, 2 cars, and they can just...
One you probably have actually missed. So Jack Doohan, who's gone to Alpine, pretty much been told he's out of a job already, which is ridiculous. So Jack Doohan's gone to be the second driver at Alpine along with Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, because they got
Alpine have now signed Colapinto as the reserve driver with a view to getting him a full-time seat quickly. Don't have one available. Briatore said it's not guaranteed that Doohan will see out the season. It's not even started.
What is going on in Formula One? How is this allowed to happen? That's like setting your manager on and then having your next manager already lined up.
Yeah, they've literally told Doohan that if performances don't work out, it's not a guarantee that he'll do the whole season. Because he has Colapinto coming in behind you.
So why not just... I don't even know where to go with that.
What Alpine should have done is...
sign Colapinto, by sounds right.
Not fired the driver that they had that was actually quite good in Ocon. That would have
got rid of Ocon. to get Duan, to get rid of Duan, to get Colapinto. Yeah.
To not make their own engines to buy them off Mercedes.
It's all. I mean, when you drill down into Formula One, it's quite a troubled sport, isn't it? It's a bit like boxing. You only learn about boxing when you start like watching it and realizing that they put a guy into the ring who's set to lose because that's his job, and the guy who wins gets to pick who he fights next, and the guy who loses because he's rich gets to. It's like, what's going on? These sports, they're governed by basically the people that fight and driving them, aren't they?
Yeah, speaking of boxing, Fury's retired again. He's retired more times than you.
He's got a bit more money than me, so he can do. Again, who's listening to him? I didn't even read it because he'll be back in 12 months' time.
But apparently,
the only difference is now he's actually retired as a loser, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, but is this his 5th retirement?
I mean,
potentially.
Again, who's put it in the local press or local newspaper? Because it's the most predictable story, never no more.
Tyson Fury loses. Tyson Fury
go his way, he retires, and then as soon as he gets bored at home, he comes back.
Yeah.
And he even did a documentary saying that he can't retire because he wouldn't know what to do himself. So we all know he's going to come back at some point.
Well, the weird bit was that a few days before he announced he was retiring, there was a news story put out that a Wembley date had been penciled in for him and
reserved
AJ.
for him.
Yeah.
AJ.
2 days later, he retired.
Has he decided that he probably won't win now? I mean, they're both shit, aren't they? So, I mean, it's like, but as he thought, well, there's a good chance I won't win this. So, yeah, maybe
just not bother.
I'll retire. That gets me out of the date and gets me away from it all. I'll let the date pass, and then I'll come back and fight Mickey Mouse in Riyadh for £60 million. Win, fight somebody else, win, fight somebody else, lose and retire again, and just keep grinding a merry circle, isn't it? Getting paid.
Because for me, nobody. I say nobody. I don't want to see the Joshua Fury fight anymore. The hype for it's gone. Oh. They're both not what they were. It
happened 5 years ago when they were both doing well. Now they're both crap.
Yeah, and there's just no appetite for me for that fight anymore.
I mean, again, Joshua got beat by a fat guy in Riyadh, didn't he? Who was not even a boxer. He looked somewhere between a sumo wrestler and a bin man. Got beat by him, and then has been crap ever since.
And then got bashed by Dubois not long ago.
Back and just gets smoked by anyone with a pair of boxing gloves on.
Yeah, he's done.
I mean, I always used to say, if you're going to pay me £30 million, Joshua can knock me out. But I reckon if you pay me £30 million now, I'll probably knock him out. I mean, he's absolutely useless, isn't he? I mean, people are getting paid to actually go and win now. They were fun. They're getting paid just to lose. Picking up the seeing fire and going, 30 million, Joshua. Yeah, knock him out 30 million, no problem.
I don't even have to try.
Absolutely. And now Fury started losing. I mean, yeah, boxing's a very troubled sport anyway, isn't
it? It's troubled, and it's heading. Well, the heavyweight division specifically is heading into a time of barrenness right now. I mean, I know we've got Dubois, but Usyk, if he wanted to, could dominate that division for the next 5 years. If he wanted to box for that long, I don't think he will, because I don't think he needs to. No. But who can challenge him?
If he's sensible in boxing, I mean, and obviously Fury's not sensible because he's an absolute nutcase, isn't he? Why didn't he retire 2 years ago when he'd won all that money, won all them fights, he was undefeated? Why didn't he just say, you know what, I will retire and just stay away? Yeah. Retire at the top. I mean, he's not young anymore. He don't need any money.
Nope.
What was he? He's won every title possible. Just walk away and retire. Like AJ. You know, he's come. How many times are you going to reinvent? I mean, I guess he's still going to come back and fight AJ. Because he's not announced that he's not.
Apparently, yes. I mean, I think he was wanting the Fury fight, but I'm guessing he will come back for the 4th time.
Who's he going to fight? Who's left for him to fight? He's either got to fight Dubois again, which I strongly advise he doesn't, because he might get seriously hurt. Usyk again. Well, he's not laid a glove on him at first 2 fights, so I won't bother in 3rd, because that's going to be pointless. So who's he going to fight?
Nobody.
Fury's retired again. You know,
Deontay Wilder, but I'm not sure if he's retired again.
I'm not sure he's got the ability to fight after watching him last time. You know, that's what they're talking about him fighting. New Zealand lad.
Parker. Joseph Parker.
How many years ago did that fight happen? 10?
Yeah. There's Zhao, the Chinese guy with the really large head, who I wouldn't want to hit because it just looks like he made of granite.
What does that fight do for you if you're Joshua? Nothing.
Only thing any fight that can do for Joshua now is make him making money. There's no fight left out there that's going to get him, that can
If you're
propel
Anthony
him back to
Joshua and
world
you're
level, I
only
don't think.
fighting for money, then you've lost the plot, haven't you? Because the one thing you don't need is money.
Hmm.
You know,
And if you're only going into a fight for money, the motivation's wrong, which means the training won't be right, which then you've got a serious chance of getting hurt.
But this is what has been this for me. This has been his problem all along. He hit the heights, and then it all became about him being a superstar. He's, it became arrogant, it became cocky, it became too, it became like a superstar that he obviously wasn't. And then he ended up taking these fights that he couldn't win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then has tailed off. But now his ego won't let him retire on a loss, so he keeps coming back. And every time he gets back to the top of his game to fight somebody any good, they just knock him out.
Or they outbox him like Usyk did and just make him
And
look
his
a fool.
ego is going to come back again and make him come back and fight 2 or 3 people who are crap. And then somebody who's good is just going to smoke him. His problem is now to get back to the top, he needs 2 years because he's going to need 3 or 4 fights. It'll be 2 years older. So some young lad's going to walk in and just knock his head off.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's not young now, is he? Let's be honest.
No, it won't be.
He is...
I mean, I'm not to comment on how young people are, but...
Well, I say he's not young. He's still younger than me. So...
Yeah, but it's not young in sporting terms, is it?
No, he's 35.
You're not in the prime of your career at 35. You need 2 years to get back to title winning. You've got to win 2 or 3 fights to get back to a world title, which generally takes a year to fight 2 fights. So you're looking at least 18 months to get back to a title fight from now. He's not even got a fight lined up as far as I know. So he's done 2 years. So that's 2027. He's 37 when he goes into his title fight. He only needs to come up against a decent 27, 28-year-old, and they're just going to run rings around him.
Yeah, because they'll just be able to move faster. They'll have better reflexes. The chances are they'll be stronger than him at that point.
He's always had a killer punch. He's always been strong and a killer punch. He hasn't got a good chin, and he isn't quick. So if he comes up against somebody that can move around the ring fast, him, i.e. Usyk type, just leave him for dead. So
I think he's not technically sound as a boxer. He's powerful, but I don't think he's got great technique. He doesn't move his head properly. His guard is usually too low. He doesn't move his feet well. So if he comes up against anybody that can actually box, he ends up in a mess.
They're sort of fighting hybrid heavyweights now, aren't they? These heavyweights that are a stone lighter,
basically,
that can move the feet and can actually box. And they're just running rings around these heavyweights that are basically one-punch knockout merchants, aren't they now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think getting into the weight classes of boxing is certainly a conversation for another day, because there is now about 4 million of them, and there are 146 world champions.
I don't even watch boxing anymore. I find the whole sport just a total joke. It's like, how can you be in one weight class one day? I mean, is it Eubank Jr. and Thingy?
Conor Benn.
They're 2 totally different weight classes from 2 totally different ends of the scale, and yet they're going to come into a weight class in the middle somewhere and meet up for a fight.
Yes.
I mean, that's like, you're not the same class. It's like you're just inventing a fight there, aren't you?
Well, that fight is invented just because of media hype, because of the dads. Let's be honest. And I don't particularly want to watch it because I don't particularly...
Media hype from who? The media, literally, because no fucker else wants to see it.
No. Neither of them are particularly good. The dads were fantastic as boxers. Don't like Chris Eubank Sr. I think he's arrogant and just, I can't stand the bloke. But he was a good boxer. Ben, the senior, again, really good boxer. The kids, they've got to a level based on the name, but they're not that good.
They were arrogant before they were good. We've gone back to this again, haven't we? If you're going to be arrogant, be good. If you're going to be good, you can be arrogant. But you've got to be one or the other first. What they've done is they've been arrogant, and they're not even that good.
No.
It's like, you need to be good before you become arrogant. Then you can back it up. If Usyk comes out now and starts spouting his mouth, he's got every right.
Fair enough.
Because he's the best man on the planet. Yeah, he's like Ronaldo. People don't like Ronaldo, but he backs it up week in, week out. People don't like Max. I don't like Max, but he backs it up week in, week out. He goes out there and does the business. So he can be as arrogant as he wants.
Yeah, but like I say, it's got to be a continuing cycle. So you be good, you become arrogant, but you've got to then be good after it. Because Joshua was good, became arrogant, but then became bad. And that's when you look a fool. If you're going to be arrogant, this cycle's got to continue being good.
You're going to be able to back up what you're going to say. And they can't
every time.
Most of these people, because they're not as good as they think they are, or they say they are.
No, they're not.
Have you, just on a quick one before we go, have you been watching the new golf tournament? I know you're a golfer.
The TGL?
Yeah.
I've seen little snippets of it. I haven't seen particularly much of it yet because kind of been watching NFL and football, to be honest.
You do get it over your end, don't you? I take it is something you can watch.
I've seen bits of it more on social media than anything. I'm not sure it's on a British TV channel yet, but I haven't actually looked.
It's very American-fied. It's kind of like T20 did for golf, for cricket.
For cricket.
I like it.
So let me see if I get the gist of it right. They just stand on a mat and it's in front of a screen, they hit a ball, and then if they land in a bunker, they stand in some sand.
I mean, the setup is absolutely next level. It's in the SoFi Stadium, the LA Chargers, Detroit, what's the face? NFL Stadium.
I hope there's not the Detroit Rams, because there's two opposite ends at St. Country.
Oh, is it LA Chargers? Who's playing in SoFi Stadium? LA
Chargers and the LA Rams.
That's him. Both of them.
Not the
So
Detroit
it's in their
Rams.
stadium. Yeah, it's LA, Detroit. Can't be far away, can it?
About 2,000 miles.
So it's played in the SoFi Stadium, which is obviously a mega stadium anyway, isn't it? But so yeah, they play into this massive screen when they're playing, the driver off the fairway. Yeah. And then when they get within, I think 50 foot, they play then on real grass, playing onto a green, which has 3 rotating bunkers, which rotate based on the hole they're on. Yeah. And the green is made up of small plates, and it can change to make the green for the hole that they're currently playing. So it moves and oscillates to give all the pitch and thing. So it's like a real hole. I've never watched full on golf, just like I don't watch full on cricket, because I find it goes on for far too long. It's 4 days, and I don't really know who's winning the end. So it will get an audience for people like me who don't mind a bit of golf, but can't sit and watch 4 rounds of 18 holes over 4 days.
Yeah, because there's no walking in between. They just keep playing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's got an entertainment value to it that I don't think you get normally. It's, they're mic'd up so you can hear the players talking.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods played the other day, possibly the worst golfer I've ever seen. All of a sudden, I don't know what's happened here. He can't hit a ball. I don't know if his legs have stopped working since his crash, but Jesus Christ. I don't think he got a point. It's his tournament. He made the freaking thing and he can't even play. He's rubbish.
He's on the same principle of what we've just been discussing, though. He should have given it up years ago.
10 years ago.
His back's gone. His knees have gone. I think one of his ankles is no good after his crash. Stop it. You were the greatest thing to ever hit golf besides Jack Nicklaus. Stop.
Yeah.
You don't need the money. You're now just looking a fool.
Not knowing golfers, but there was another player in his team who hit a shot out of the bunker, pinged it out of the bunker, hit the flag at the top of the flag, and it went out of the arena. Absolutely howitzered it out of the bunker, straight at the flag, and it just knackered off somewhere. But yeah, I would watch it if I were you. It's good. It's very good. It's entertaining. It doesn't go on for too long. It's on for a couple of hours, I think, all told. They play 15 holes. It's 9 holes of triples, and then each player plays a hole of singles. Yeah, it's good. It's typical what they do nowadays, don't they? Make it for the media, but for the audience. But yeah, it's worth a watch. And I got quite into it. I think they play every Tuesday or Wednesday or something. It's different for me. It's on a different day to you usually. So, but yeah, it's definitely worth a laugh, and they have a good laugh with it. Some of the players are really bad.
We should give it a go. Go and turn up, see if we can win.
Yeah, no, I've tried playing golf recently, and as people will tell you, I'm not very good.
Yeah, I can believe that one.
I played the other day, and I lost more than 1 ball a hole. So it's becoming quite an expensive sport, because you have to pay to play, and then you have to rent a buggy, and I have to hire some clubs, and I have to buy at least 10 balls a round because I lose 1 per hole. And yeah, it's quite expensive.
Oh dear. And I think on that crushing disappointment of your horrendous golfing skills for our first episode of the year, I think I'm going to say we'll call it a day before we ruin anything else.
Are we back next week?
Well, if you can bother to turn up, yeah.